All right. So we're going to try for a second time today. We tried earlier and the video failed because I pressed the wrong button and I got locked out of my own video. So here we are again this afternoon. I know most of you have already received an email if you're a regular member, but if you're new, you may not have seen the earlier version. First failed video in 7 years. So today we're going to be talking about Section 8 eligibility, Section 8 applications, and Section 8 waiting list. One of the more common topics that people ask me about. Before we do that, I'm going to get into a few introductions. That way you know who I am, what I do. So I'm the owner of Section8Consultant.com, and I've been a consultant for about 20 years now, actually over 20 as of this summer. And what I do is I work with people on a variety of levels, which includes casework. So a lot of you are trying to apply and then get a Section 8 voucher. And then in return, a lot of you guys are trying to get Section 811, Section 504. And I think you've heard me speak, about I think around 20 to 50 different types of vouchers. In addition to that, I think there's a total summary of all 50 states is around 138. So getting into vouchers and applying for them during a pandemic when things are tough proves to be a bit of a challenge. So that's why I'm here making this live video. For those of you that have questions about Section 8, low-income housing, affordable housing, so that goes by many, many different names, and I'm hoping to address that in this video for the 12 or 13,000 people that watch my channel. So with the application process right now, and with the holiday season, I think that it's taken a lot longer than normal. I know states like Florida, California, New York, Jersey, they're all having some problems because with the 40 million people that have been evicted through the past season, there's a lot of demand for vouchers when there in fact aren't that many vouchers to be given out. So I'm seeing a lot of people move from one state to another, one county to another, depending on where you live. So on all applications, besides the boring stuff where they ask your name, number, address, and so on, the main preferential points they're looking for is whether or not you live in the county and whether or not you're considered extreme low income. For those of you that don't understand that application process, there are many versions of low income, believe it or not. They don't just consider one. So there's you have an income, but you're not making much. Then there's low income, and then there's extreme low income, which is, 50% below the area median income. So that's a mathematical equation that they figure. And then if you fit into that, considering the rents and what you're making in the area, then you would be considered extreme low income. So I see a lot of people bouncing in and out. So this might not be the subject matter that everybody's interested in. I know it's a lot more interesting when you get to watch teenagers on YouTube set their hair on fire and they get 1 million views. So I can't say that my videos are quite that compelling. So beyond that, I think the main thing we're looking for is whether or not you have the correct preferences. Peaches, welcome to the channel. And Peaches says, oh, by the way, guys, you can chat with me live. There is a live chat window. I don't know if you're on a phone, a computer, a tablet, a desktop, or whatever it may be, but you can actually chat with me live. So, that being said, some of the things of high consideration are going to be your age. Are you 55 plus or are you 62 plus? So that speaks to being older and also elderly. And then, of course, we already talked about the zip code preference, the low income preference as being extreme low income as the first two that they consider. Beyond that, whether or not you've served the United States military, have you served Coast Guard, National Guard? So that would put you in the arena of HUD Bash, which is a very particular type of voucher. Beyond the HUD Bash, for those of you that are 55 and 62 and older, more of the senior and elderly versions, Section 202 would be appropriate for you. But if you have a combination of both being old and disabled, whether it's mental or physical, then there are several other vouchers we may consider, which would be Section 811, obviously, the Mainstream Housing Choice Voucher, Permanent Supportive Housing, which is PSH, and Rapid Rehousing, which is RRH, as what it's known by. Now, if you're in the younger ages and you're below 55, then the mainstream voucher would be appropriate, but also we could have considerations and ties to 504. And if you're even younger and say in college and plus have a disability, then I think the 504 would be ideal for you. Now, as far as the applications process is concerned, most housing authorities will issue a pre-application, which they're just trying to determine whether or not you're actually a resident of the state and the county in which you live in. And then second to that, they would want to establish your income ratio, which they would verify then and there. If you manage to get through pre-application, then you go into the second round. The second round of applications is when they start to verify the details that you've given them and whether or not you meet any one of the preferences that they may have. Just to be clear, out of 50 states and probably over 5,000 counties, there's probably over 30 or 40 different preferences depending on the type of housing authority. The average housing authority would likely have about 5 major preferences. You know, when you deal with housing authorities the same way I do as a consultant, one thing you always want to be clear about is number one, do they even have vouchers? So if we're able to establish they have that much, then who specifically are they attempting to give these vouchers to? That's where a lot of you make a lot of errors. You believe that just filling out an application, submitting it, and then leaving it up to the Section 8 gods as to whether or not you receive a voucher or whether or not you wait a lifetime for it is the wrong way. My approach for 20 years has been to reverse engineer that through open and federal requests, where I determine first, I compel them to tell me the number of vouchers. Then we're able to segregate those vouchers into different funding levels. So if the housing authority is going to receive $5 million and they're putting $1 million towards homeless people, then and they don't have that many applicants, then that would be probably where I would be trying to push my client through the system is to appear to be homeless. You see my point? So we're matching the plot in the course of the housing authority. If the housing authority has nothing left but other than for people that are 62 and older, it tells me we need to pass on that housing authority and move to the next one. Now, look, the thing about preferences is you may not have them, but look, like I tell my clients, look, you might be able to legally see everybody today, and you'll be legally blind by the end of the week if given a choice by me. But we know the specific reasons and the type of people they're looking to give these vouchers to, then the most appropriate course is if you're not disabled this week, you damn well need to be by the end of next week. And there's lots of ways to get around that. Just like any wonderful law created by all those good Christian folks that work up at Capitol Hill, you don't think they don't design laws to have loopholes? There's plenty of them. And that's what I do. I shoot holes in them. And then when you look at that at a larger scope, what we're doing is actually we're targeting a lot of different housing authorities. Our housing authorities essentially have their own policies and procedures. These are operational manuals that cover data, procedures, and their in-house rules. Once I'm able to establish what those are, then you can see that what I'm doing is I'm looking to shoot, what I already mentioned, shooting holes in their system, but I would say within the legal limits of what we're allowed to do to exploit their system in order to kick out a voucher. Okay. Within, like I said, again, legally, not where you're lying, not where you're breaking the law. But again, we're matching the plot in the course of the housing authority. You see, so it gets more sophisticated the deeper you get into it. So you might be thinking, well, why in the hell would anybody need to go through all of that? Well, if the system was fair, I wouldn't exist. There wouldn't be over 200 videos I'd made, and I certainly wouldn't have been around for 20 years. If we could all just drive down there with a good hard luck story and get a voucher, then this video would not even be possible. But because we have a system that's been around since the 70s, and with each new president, each new piece of legislation, you ever wonder where these voucher numbers come from, like Section 811, Section 504, and so on? These are all written in the subsection of federal regulation. And each new presidency and each new rule, law that's designed to either improve or make it worse, all this shit's been stacked for 50 years. So we have this big ball of mess. Then you take the primary rules and instructions that HUD and DC tells the housing authorities, which are county owned by county employees, they issue their own mandate to them, and then they're allowed to adjust those rules to match pretty much the demographics of their city. In other words, it's a complex game, but for those of us who know how to play that game very well, then you're able to beat the people that created it. And I got to be honest with you, there are parts of what the housing authority does that I think a third grader could handle, but you've got to put the work into it. So the other option is you just simply apply and then you wait the 15 years without ever knowing from one day to the next whether or not it's going to happen. Number two, applications or design is a process of elimination. These are not goodwill applications. They're not designed to actually kick out or give you jack. All right. So let me speak to you very clearly about this. You got a bunch of little smart asses that work in colleges, and then they sit here and they systematically write these applications in lieu of Nana McKay, which is a company that writes most policies and procedures for housing authorities around America and for the bigger states. And so what I mean by that is they design specific questions in a way that would either shame you mentally or in other ways to get you to not answer correctly. Some of the questions that they ask are kind of catch 22. So they design the questions in a specific way to make you think it's not applicable. And when you don't check or verify certain parts in the application, when you think, oh, that could never be me, then you just added about another 5 years to your wait. Okay. So it's very cleverly done. And I've seen some housing authorities that go to quite great extremes. And you'll always find the most difficult questions that don't seem like they're applicable to you always at the bottom at the end of most all applications, because that's what they prefer to put the things that do the biggest damage as far as getting you through the waiting list the quickest. Now, the exploitation of housing authorities by multiplying our efforts between 5, 10, 20, even 50 different counties, 50 different housing authorities. Let me tell you something. If there's a weakness with any of them, I'm out there looking for that. That's the first thing I'm trying to establish, because if you're running this poorly and you're not watching what you're doing, I'm going to do my job. And that is absolutely to assist the client in getting what they need to get. If this was as friendly and easy as it could have been a long time ago, then again, we wouldn't be here with this video at all. We wouldn't be going through a complex system of doing open federal requests, public requests, trying to compel them to give answers, and then having to go to different companies that design and engineer these manuals, policies, and procedures for these housing authorities in order to determine that 1% that will ever get a voucher, and for what reason. Again, also, you're trying to tailor your applications to the specific thing that they're looking to kick out a voucher for. And so there's a lot of reasons. If you're a domestic violence victim, if you're suffering from HIV or AIDS, if you're a veteran, as I'd mentioned before, I mean, there's so many different types of funding levels. So if I find a housing authority in a county that's obscure upstate and they say, hey, we don't have money for anything except for people that are disabled, that are over the age of 33 and that were just homeless. Guess what you're going to be doing as a client of mine? We're going to match the plotting course of that. If you're not homeless tonight, we'll figure out a way. That's the thing, folks. You got to do whatever you got to do. Look, we're 4, 5, 6 weeks from Christmas. And then we just, as a nation, just kicked out up to 40 million people on eviction, right? So where are these 40 million people going to get 40 million vouchers? No, those, let me tell you, the 40 million vouchers have never existed in the universe. And so you're going to go out there and try to compete with everybody's hard luck story on your own. Good luck with that. So going back to those preferences, that is part of the deal. The other is, looking for weaknesses in housing authorities, and there are plenty of them, because most housing authorities, despite them being county employees, a lot of them only require a certification to be a housing specialist or a portability specialist. And for around $100 to $200, they can get that little certificate out the bubblegum machine. And then most of their job is just data entry. They don't actually, most of those housing authority employees don't even read their own manuals. In other words, they're very loosely apprised of their own policies. So when you can trap them basically in the application and through the process, then you can get them. And there are lots of ways of getting vouchers without ever dealing with the housing authority. So let's put that on the plate as it stands. Look, for those of you I mentioned in my earlier video, if you're a domestic violence victim, anytime you get a county referral, that is ideal. So if you're at the county health organization and you're receiving mental care through a psychiatrist there, and that is a county-run facility, there are certain ways that you can get recommended backdoor straight to a housing authority, regardless of that housing authority not having any vouchers, saying they don't, and regardless of the fact that they've been closed for 25 years and not given a voucher 25 years. Look, all housing authorities, in respects, keep 15% of all funding hidden. In other words, they've always got vouchers. They just don't need to let you know that they're still giving them out despite that list been closed 20 years. A lot of that is backdoor from county referrals. So where do you get them? A lot of those referrals come from people that end up going to psychiatric facilities, take a little visit there, and then they're responsible for the person when they have to leave. Number two, those that have been federal witnesses, state witnesses, county witnesses, and other things may be able to access that through district attorney's office and other offices. And those that are receiving physical and mental care, if you've got a good enough story and you're able to guide the particular person that's handling your casework there, they could make a direct referral. Then we move into a separate arena of non-housing authority vouchers, which are PSH and RRH, which are to help people that are at an imminent level of need, which means that you're on the way from losing your home, losing your lease, and being evicted, and so on. Maybe you're already sleeping in the car, or maybe you're on a homeless shelter. Doesn't matter. It's a separate system of things. And they issue vouchers, and they do so generally within the 35 to 60 day mark. So that is continuum of care, coordinated entry, and they generally use COC testing or SBDAT. That is where they ask you between 15 to 30 different assessment questions. And provided you know the answer to those questions, at least you look damaged enough through the questions and answers that you give, they typically will put a housing specialist or a navigation specialist on your case, and then within about 35 days, it kicks out a voucher. Is it a better voucher than a housing choice voucher? Probably not. But I do believe it does meet the immediate need. A lot of my clients have decided to use that because it's just too ridiculous trying to get a housing authority to get a voucher early. People doing it on their own are waiting 15 years, even with all the fairy dust I can pour on it, and the smallest, poorest, most ridiculous state. That's the shortest I've ever seen was 6 days, and that's mythical. Trust me, 6 days. And the more likely is about 6 months and up to 3 years. But it sure beats the hell out of your 15 years doing it with what you know. Then we look at the magnitude of information that we read from the internet and from the YouTube. So everybody's full of tips and tricks. Let's take Google as an example. We take a look at that. They're writing all these articles, right? So one guy writes a really good article in 2015. 15,000 different news agencies respin that article, and it becomes garbled junk. Even when you read the article on how to get Section 8, how to get it quick, how to get it fast, can I get a voucher today? What are the rules? What are the policies? 99.9 and the nines keep rolling. Almost all that shit is outdated, inaccurate, and it couldn't help a single person do a damn thing. I've read most of what's out there on Google, and it's a travesty that anybody would believe any of that stuff. It's such a poor attempt. If your life depended on you reading things on Google, let me tell you, Google's great for a lot of things, but it's definitely not for Section 8 because the information there is just accurate and just crazy. Then we move on to the YouTube. Well, look, anybody can make a video, right? So last week they were an expert at fidget spinners. This week they're an expert at pantyhose sales. And then, of course, this week they have published a video because they are now the master sergeant of all Section 8, and they're giving out five steps to get a voucher. That's strictly what happens when you hire a party clown to your child's birthday party. I call those party clowns making videos because they need the 5 cents from the ad money to pay their light bill. Remember, when you decide to get advice from people, if they don't actually do consulting work, they don't have operational manuals and all that, then they're nothing but a party clown presenting on YouTube, in my opinion. Now, there are some educated people that do give opinions on YouTube, and I think that's fantastic. You've got real estate agents that do it. Some are actually pretty decent. But again, do you really want to hire a party clown to fix your air conditioning? No. You'd call the AC man. If you're going to get a consultant, quit hiring clowns. Don't take advice from them. They're just there to cheer you up. There's no 3 steps to bullshit with this. There's about 1,000 steps. It's difficult. Look, the casework I do for people, I've got about 16 to 20 cases right now I'm working on. We're talking about weeks of work. So how the hell are you going to make a video in 3 minutes? There's 3 steps to getting a Section 8 voucher. Get the fuck out of town. You're out your mind. It just makes me sick when I see these videos. And you guys are snapping it up. Look, come on, let's come back to earth with this. Now, most of y'all should be able to read between the lines when you see bullshit, okay? That would be my expectation for y'all. But I'll leave it in y'all's capable hands, Same thing with the books. I see a lot of people writing books about Section 8. Where do you think they got all their information? And half that shit's loosely. Let me tell you something. One of them recommended bringing a pizza to the housing authority. They're going to take that pizza, throw you out the door, and then talk to you like shit. You think that pizza's going to get you a voucher? I mean, some of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Now we're writing books. Look, if anybody can write a book, it's going to be me. So now that I've said what I've had to say about that, let's move on to the waiting list. So we all have different ideas about waiting lists and how they work, and they do not work. Waiting lists are not quite how people might imagine them. Waiting lists are actually divided up. They're not intended to be even, equal, or first person shows up. It's not like kindergarten when you get whoever's first in line to get lunch is the first person. It doesn't work that way. These waiting lists are comprised of several segments. The top segment is going to be people with a lot of preferences, and they go to the top of that list, and that's that bubble. And that's that bubble they're going to be feeding off to give vouchers to people. Then you have a secondary, in my opinion, a secondary bubble of people. These are people that have a decent amount of preferences, but they're not quite considered highly. Then the ones that you have at the bottom are more the people that simply feel entitled. They're low income. They want a voucher and whatever. Those are the people that will wait there forever. The reason why housing authorities rarely want to give out a housing number and let you know where you're on a list is because those that are in the middle and the bottom, as more people enter, your number actually gets worse and worse. So rather than people call and say, well, how the hell did I apply last year and I had 1,000 number and now it's 5,000? It's simple. The top bubble with the people the most preferences, there are lots of those, and they keep entering the system. And then it's just like a balloon, keep expanding straight to the bottom, straight to hell. Now, as an act of charity, they do occasionally pull from the mid-level and the bottom level, but it's rare. Or you might graduate to it. Some people graduated by virtue of age. Wow, I turned 62. I have now just enough preference to move a little bit higher up on the list. But for most people, look, when you fill out applications, you give and you either qualify or disqualify for preferences. That is game and match. Once you give your answer, it's a matter of public record. There's no going back to change that for a better answer. If you screw up one question on there and it's instrumental, it could cost you 5 years wait. It could cost you a lifetime of waiting. It really just depends on what you're doing. But I wish the application was just the smartest part of it. So, all right. So on the waiting list, look, some decent advice about that. If they have a waiting list, just start your car and drive away. You're wasting your time. Waiting lists were something that people could wait on back before the pandemic. Now that we've added millions more to every list and we're 5X, don't even waste your time with that. If they say waiting list, just hang up. Just straight break, snap the phone in two and hang up because it's not going to happen. You can get on the list. They'll call you at 2050. Okay, forget about the waiting list. So I got to tell my clients, I don't care if we have to call every housing authority in the state, if we have to compel each one of them to give us the critical details we need before you apply. Once you apply, your case, your duck is cooked. There's not going back and go, oh, well, shit, I meant that I was really homeless and I was really disabled and all these other things, but unfortunately, I didn't check those boxes. So, I guess I'm going to have to wait 15 years. Also, targeting states where we know that we don't have a housing crisis and counties where those we know that they have the right amount of funding there. So sometimes you have to move. Look, this was negotiable with me pre-pandemic. It's not anymore. Some of you guys just cannot live where you are. And no matter how much I tell you that, oh, well, I'll just wait. Well, you'll wait. You're 40 now. You'll wait till you're 80. Okay. California's got a list right now. California's dealing with 200,000. Want the same damn thing. So unless you're really in a small county, it is very difficult to get what you need out there without a whole lot of preferences. And then people from California overran Nevada. Now Nevada actually has shut down completely. Let me tell you, it's kind of like a snack machine. They hit that state so hard. People from California hit Nevada so hard that they wiped it out. There's nothing left to get in that state and probably won't be for about a decade. Now, am I saying there's no vouchers really to get? There is through referral and other clever ways of applying, but I got to tell you, you're fighting an uphill battle. So I'm not saying that it's impossible in California or Nevada. I'm just saying that we see where there's faster ways to get what you need. And once you have it, maybe the best idea is then to port back into the city It's like I tell people, if it could 12 months in one county and then port back into where you prefer to live. Look, porting is a much simpler process. It's just to get the voucher anywhere you can and then drag it back to where you want to go. That is a much simpler process. Or you wait 15 years and then you see what your luck is that way. So I'm going to take a hit of my 99-cent energy drink, yeah, and answer a few questions. Because that was a long. Did y'all see me take a breath at all? You know what? That's something I think is interesting because when you watch people make videos about Section 8, they have to pause and read all their notes. Now, I'm able to do this for 30 minutes straight without blinking an eye. So, what do you think the difference between a con artist is and a person that actually knows their shit? How could I possibly just continuously talk like that and not have to reference one thing? It's simple. I know exactly what I'm talking about. All right, guys, give me a minute here. No, I'm not. I'm not sponsoring this company, by the way. I'm just drinking their drink. All right, Brian Guerreros. Hey, Jay. I hope you don't retire soon. Well, Brian, the only way I'm going to retire is if I have a third ischemic attack and then finally have a stroke. And either I'll be blowing through a straw in a wheelchair doing videos, or y'all be visiting my funeral. I'm hoping that that's not going to happen. People do check out early in my family. Grandfather was gone at 40, dad was gone at 55, and I'm on my second one, and I'm at 45. So we'll see. I've already made a move where I'm actually going to move to Arkansas to get a new house, and I'm buying a Cadillac CTS. I plan on living a little bit as quickly as possible because I really don't know what's going to happen. This could just go badly for me very quickly. I don't know. Right now, I'm good. So thanks for asking, Brian. So I'm going to read the rest of Brian's question. Jay, I hope you don't retire soon. Have you considered making it PDF books and everything yet? So I have a library of 8 terabytes. That's the equivalent of 16 computers maxed out memory. That's 20 years, 13,000 manuals, and I believe in reference point that would be about 1.4 million pages of data, operation procedures, HUD manuals, housing authority manuals, and every COC manual known to exist, probably in the U.S. I'd say my library rivals even that close to HUD, okay? Of course, HUD loves paperwork. So I'm not going to say that my information rivals there, but I'd say that I've organized mine compared to that mess up there in DC. So I don't really question my ability to 8 terabytes. That's a lot, my friends. We could run part of a college with that. I actually had to upgrade from 4. So, Kina Journey. I can't find anything that will accept a voucher in North Carolina. Well, Kina Journey, as I mentioned, guys, y'all can chat with me in the win, and I'm going to answer questions, and these are the questions they're asking, and I'm repeating them. Well, that really depends, So I don't know where you're looking. There are one of the things I want to suggest to you guys is using Facebook Marketplace to look for landlords. Okay, I've had more success with that one thing than I have with all the other stuff that I use, with the exception of AffordableHousingOnline.com. Because they're pre-authorized people and landlords that applied to be on that website, and it is a federal subcontractor to HUD. So I know that about 97% of all the properties listed on Go Section 8, sorry, not Go Section 8, Affordable Housing Online, are legitimate, okay? So there's about 3% cheaters that manage to get in there, and it's a good place to look. The main thing, guys, is look, in the normal course of life, everything runs normally, right? With Section 8, you can expect every part of the process to be a gigantic pain in the ass. If it took you 2 weeks to look for a normal apartment with a Section 8 voucher, you're looking at weeks and months, okay? Let's make no apologies about that. Even when I'm successful getting clients vouchers, it is a horrendous effort to get a place to live. Plus, we're in the pandemic. Plus, we're in an overheated market. Landlords haven't been paid in over a year, so they're jacking up the rent. And so, yes, I think the bigger thing is we have to deal with the adversity of being told no 30,000 times before we find it. So I'm not, like I said, I don't offer up any miracles with that, but I do understand what you're saying about that. But I can also tell you, I have specific clients that have mental illness, and part of their mental illness is persistence. They're the kind of people that yes means no and no means yes. And you know what? Well, this is what I want to say about those particular type of clients that I have. They're the ones that always find a place. You know why? Because no matter what, they don't give a shit. They just keep on. If you tell them don't call again today, they'll call 11 more times. Those are the type of clients that I have that manage to get it all done. And I think it's so interesting that it takes a person almost with schizophrenia to be able to complete part of the process. I mean, where you just simply everything, you said no, everything means yes to them. It's like you're speaking in a different language, but they're highly effective at getting things done. That's why I do appreciate my clients that have that hang up because they're so good at getting through the voucher process and they never accept the no's. In fact, um, they're pretty good, man. I wish there was more things they could benefit from under that particular problem. But Tanya Larkin, how you doing? And Tanya says, Jay, I keep you in my prayers. I appreciate that, guys. I don't want to disappear. Y'all all going to be left with those other folks making videos. Now you know they're going to do those little 3 steps to getting the voucher bullshit. I told you, man. Look, once I leave YouTube and retire, you're going to be back to party clowns, big shoes, big noses. A little bit too much eyeliner, and then a lot of bullshit in the video, and it'll be 3 minutes long. They're going to fix all your housing crisis in 3 minutes. And right after they copy and paste it directly off of Google from the last 30 people that stole the information, and it's all bad anyways. I don't know. It's like the blind leading the blind leading the deaf. I don't know. It's crazy. How people give advice about shit they don't even know about. Amber Styles, glad you're feeling better. I'll be scheduling a consult after the video. Amber, I look forward to talking to you. Oh, by the way, guys, when we do consults, I can talk like the wind. So be careful when you ask to know everything because it's a lot more than you can put on your plate. Trust me. A lot of you guys, I really have to calm down on the phone when we start doing consults and casework because the level and the degree in which in specifics that I can get into, um, trust me, will have your mind twirling all night. You won't be able to sleep. I've even had people challenge me. They've hired me to challenge me just to see quite how intelligent I was with this stuff. And let me tell you something, they left without being able to having to take a breath. You know what I'm saying? Take a break because look, there's a lot of depth to this stuff if you really want to get it done right. That's the thing. A lot of you are gambling. So if you're going to go out there and buy a $2 lottery ticket, I understand the gamble, but a lot of you are willing to gamble on doing it yourself. And then if you fail, the consequences are you're homeless. That's absolutely absurd. If I knew somebody out there could give me an advantage to this, with any amount of reasonableness, knew that the guy knew exactly what was going on and knew how to carry this out properly, then why the hell would I be out there wanting to do everything for free? Oh well, I'll just do this free. Well, look, you're gambling with your housing. This is not an issue of saving money on your cable bill. It's a matter of whether or not you're really going to get housing and wait 15 years. And I'm not suggesting anybody hire me. Look, they got lots of fruitcakes rolling around, man, that selling books and other things that are happy to do consults for you for 10 easy payments and 99.99. All kinds of crazy shit. So my advice to you guys is consider this. Is your housing is risking the ability to get housing and get it quickly really worth it to you to sit there and think, well, shit, I'll just go out there and mass fill out an application. Another thing I want to warn you about, guys, look on Google right now. You got a lot of these companies that are saying that they can do applications across all 50 states. That is absolutely an empirical scam, baby. They don't. The only thing they're going to do is collect your private information and take out a loan. That's what they're going to do, and they're going to vanish in the night. None of those companies can do that. Hell, if I could have done that, I mean, I've got to sit here and do it 5 to 10 counties at a time, and they're swearing up and down for a small payment. They're going to be able to mass apply. They haven't applied for anything. They laughed and went and had a steak dinner, and you'll never speak to that jackass again. Trust me. That's a lot of what I see on Google right now. They're running all kinds of scams. There's so many of them, man. It's like a parade now. All right. Beyond that, let's get back to the serious subject here. So, Alex R., what about Shelter Plus Care? So I don't think Shelter Plus Care is a bad deal. It's the lowest tier of what you can get. I think that if you have a fair and reasonable COC program, and you have a caseworker there that's trying to help you, and a part of the condition of receiving rapid rehousing or permanent supportive housing voucher is doing Shelter Plus, then I say do it, okay? But at the same time, I really believe you could skip right past that. Here's the deal with COC and Shelter Plus and all that. The people that are administering these tests over there, they have had about 15 minutes of training. I've got all of their manuals, so I already know both the questions, the answers, and the scoring system. So it really just comes down to how shady are you going to be as a Christian and how ethical are you feeling today. Let me tell you something, guys. You can bend the truth, and sometimes we'll just call it bend the truth. You bend the truth, and you're able to get the voucher, right? Look, I understand a lot of you guys are good, hardcore Christians, but here's the deal. You can pray under the bridge, or you can pray for forgiveness for that little lie you told, and then be done with it, okay? In heart, look, a lot of you guys are not designed to be outdoors, and you're letting these morals and ethics, everything's got to be the truth. Well, the truth is the number one thing that's going to keep your ass outside under a bridge. So again, I just tell you guys, look, if you already know that certain things have to be said and you don't match, your answers don't match that, then maybe it's appropriate to sleep a couple nights out in the car so you really are homeless. So I always tell you, match the course of the questions so you can get through this. Because the other result is you're gambling with something serious. Look, guys, most of you couldn't handle being really homeless. Okay. I know plenty about that. Check out a few of the videos I made about that. Okay. And that doesn't come from observations. It doesn't come from that. I went through it at one point in my life. I know exactly what type of people you're fixing to encounter. So a lot of you guys out here gambling with your housing, thinking you know best. It's that same attitude that got you in trouble when the air conditioner broke down. You thought you were an air conditioner repairman. Same thing's going to get you when your car breaks and you think you're a mechanic. So I tell people, stay in your lane. Do what you know how to do. And then when you don't know how to do it, get a professional to help you. Because if you don't, you're just going to come back. And a lot of you guys wreck yourself. And then you want me to come and clean up your mess. You go out here and you make a mess of your application and everything else. You say all the wrong shit. And then you come to me and say, oh, man, I messed it all up. Can you help me now? Well, actually, what you're asking me to do is do twice the work because you decided that you wanted to be the AC man. You wanted to be the mechanic and you knew best. I'm just telling you guys, if you think it's all down to putting a pen on a piece of paper, you're out your tree. If it was that simple, we would have vouchers for everybody. So moving on. Roland Bays, hey, man, good to see you back in the channel. I like to crack that one. Is it worth trying? Well, Roland, anything we can crack these days, any type of voucher we can get these days is good news, brother. I'm always looking at different ways. If I find out there's new funding for a specific type or a specific group or demographic, I'm always looking for ways for my clients to take advantage of it. They had an opening a while in LA, and let me tell you something. The minute I knew about that, I started pushing my own clients right through that system, like with a knife through hot butter, man. I don't waste any time with it. So, Jackie M, hey, how's it going? Good to see you back in here. And Jackie says, I'd like to secure the correct UPS store mailing address and for voucher for Dupree County, Illinois. Will it matter where the county I choose? It does matter. So, guys, look, a lot of you want to warp yourself from one county or state to another. But you know that there's a preference they would prefer people that already live in that county. Well, there's lots of ways to elude that, including real street addresses, opening checking accounts, which you can do online these days without ever visiting the bank. And when you open up a checking account online and you say, I live at 1200 Louisiana Street in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, but yet you're really living in Chicago, do you see my point? You just, by virtue of them sending one letter to you with that new address on there, guess what you've just done? You've established residency in a different state. And do you think the housing authorities are intelligent enough to distinguish the two? Hell no. Number two, there's so many ways to get addresses. How do you think homeless people do this? They give out hotels and hotel door numbers. Does it matter? Do housing authorities normally mail anything other than recertification? Not really. So you could really just give a random hotel room with a random number on it, and in the state and city you want to, let them mail all the shit they want to. The point is, you proved resident. Yeah, I was there. Well, why aren't you now there? Well, I had to move. What do you think? So you see my point. There's lots of ways to elude this. There's nothing illegal about it. You have to do it better than I'm suggesting in the video. But You could technically be omnipresent present in almost any state and county and meet the criteria of a local preference if you gave it enough thought. That's the point. Same thing with the banking thing. Or, oh, I lost my social security card. Could you mail it to 2184 whatever street? And you've just established residency. Look, the housing authority does not have an army of investigators. They're paying $90 an hour to watch you with a camera to see if you pushed in the key in Miami, Florida. You guys give these people way too much credit. A lot of what they want, they're asking you for the information because they clearly cannot get it on their own. There's no public database proving you don't live in the state. But loose lips sink ships, and you guys keep giving honest answers. Oh yeah, I live in Alaska, but yeah, I'd like to apply here in New Jersey. Oh, we're so sorry, we had to disqualify because you don't live in the state and you don't live in the county. When you could have just gave a very simple but different answer that would have completely qualified you. That one little mistake right there would have cost you everything. But you guys don't get that. And then you call me, oh, well, I already told them that I didn't live there. Well, there's nothing I can do. It's a matter of public record. You've already opened your big lips about it, and it's over with. So now we have to consider whole other areas because you DIY'd your own concept of trying to get a voucher, and you completely burn your bridge on the first question. You see? Just that simple and that fast. And I watch a lot of you guys wreck yourself with this stuff and then come to me, oh, well, how can you fix this? Well, I guess we're going to have to consider a different county or a different state because you've already said just about every wrong thing you can say to these people. I've seen people get all the way through the application process and then they feel like the workers, their friends, so they start jabbering with them, start talking freely. And then something pops up in the conversation, and then the worker pauses all of a sudden. Oh, wait a minute. You didn't tell me that at the beginning. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to help you today. But you were 1 second from actually being granted a voucher. I watched a lot of you burn your cases down just because you couldn't stop chitter chatting, and you decided to put all your business in the street right at the end, and it disqualified you. Come back calling me for about consults in tears. Well, I don't understand what happened. It's simple. You kept talking, didn't you? Daniel Valuja, my longtime and most chatted person in the channel. Welcome, brother. How are you doing? Joanne Menendez. Are EHVs given by direct referral only? That's how it's supposed to be, and it's supposed to be direct referral to a continuum of care, and that would be under the Housing First initiative. So in most cases, yes. And if you don't have a referral, then that's what you should absolutely be working on. Prior to the new rules they issued about a week or two ago, EHVs were being the original 77,000 they gave out were designed to be given out for housing doors. So now they're running all EHVs, emergency housing vouchers, essentially through the continuum of care, Housing First, and so on, coordinated entry. And Peaches Greer, she's left me an emoji. Thank you for the emoji, Peaches. So, guys, what other questions do you have for me? If you don't have further questions, I'm going to wrap this up because there's no point in continuing to talk and educate if nobody really has any questions. It's just a waste of air, So I don't want to sit here and roll through a whole manual. Last call, folks, and I'm going to check the time. We're at 43 minutes. So I know everybody's getting tired. Look, guys, there's lots of ways to do this. I always just look. The thing is, I want to encourage you to investigate yourself. Do as much as you can. And when you can't do it anymore and it's not working for you, then all you can do is reach out to somebody that you do know is qualified to help you with it. And that would be the best course. We're now arriving. We're within weeks of the holidays, and these county employees. Do you think they're going to stay in that office in the sweatshop and keep working on your voucher? No, they're fixing to close all this stuff down. And the last iota you're going to hear from these people are going to be January 1st. That's after they've had about a pot of coffee and decide to actually warm up their computer again. So I'm just telling you, with the holiday season arriving, and we're dead in it, this is going to be over before you know it. And there won't be any new federal funding, county funding, or state funding for any of this until January 1st. So if you have not made a decision to do something about your case before you get put out, evicted, or to deal with your immediate issues, then you better do something now because you're fixing to be stuck out for several months. So that's the final and best warning I can give you guys. And to be frank with you, I've been giving y'all warnings since the pandemic started, and each one is a little bit more dire. But I don't think it's so bad. We're just dealing with the holidays. So a few more questions. I Michelle says lots of questions. Okay. Amber Sauce says, is it correct that if I call to receive a voucher, they check your test answers? Call to receive a voucher, they check your test answers. Well, before they even decide whether or not they're going to issue any type of voucher to you, they're going to make sure your information is correct. And if you're actually applying through continuum of care, you would not be of any consideration or even on paperwork unless you pass their assessment. So, yes. Joe Menendez, cool, thank you. I have a referral to COC program, which will hopefully take me to PHA. Yeah, so your ultimate goal is to get to EHB, but if not, then you'd always be glad to get a PSH or RRH. Both are highly effective. And if you've got that referral, that is 99% of your battle, okay? Amber Style says, and everything you say must match the answers you gave in your application. Look, answers do not need to match reality. Let me give you an example. Why do you all think I'm so good at what I do? Do you think that a lot of my clients are really homeless? Do you think a lot of them are damaged in the way that they need to be in order to get these vouchers? No. It just means, like anything, rules can be bent as long as you match the course of it. That's the part of all this that works the best. It's knowing what and how to do these things. I wish I could explain it better, but if you don't have psychiatric problems, you go down to the therapist and you tell him you've been depressed the last 20, now you have psychiatric problems. He makes a note, congratulations. By HUD standard, you're now disabled. Do you understand now? So, or even a week prior to all this. So if that's what needs to be said and done prior to this, in order to highly qualify for a voucher, then that's what has to be pursued. Now, only you will know inside your mind whether or not you're receiving therapy for a mental problem that's there or not. And to be frank with the pandemic, we all got a case of a little bit crazy. So that's the thing. You're attacking this from many different ways, and to some degree it does, but most of the evidence relies strictly on what federal code and federal regulation does ask and request, and their personal procedures and policies for the housing authority. And I'm not going to get deep into that because every housing authority has a different set and concept of that. And then we have to figure out which housing authority have what rules, and then make sure we match as many as possible to make sure that you're of the highest consideration. So, all right, guys, I'm going to wrap this up because now we're just going into the rambles. So with the last thing I'm going to be leaving y'all with is I've been looking. So this is just private talk. I've been looking at the Cadillac CTS. I posted a few pictures on the community page in this YouTube channel. I've always been a truck man, and then I went to being an SUV man. Now I'm considering the Cadillac CTS. For those, any of y'all ever own one, let me know. And let me tell you something. Just because you're low income or you're in a Section 8 voucher, don't have me believe for a damn minute that most of you don't have nice rides. I'm not stupid. I've seen people that are supposed to be dead broke. You walk in your Section 8 apartment filled with antiques, and they're driving a 2020 Cadillac. So I ain't buying that shit. A lot of you guys are clever. Okay, I get that. I don't blame you. If you're smart enough to beat the system, congratulations. That's the way I look at it. Because as it stands, this whole fucking system is not designed to be fair at all. Only the clever, the intelligent, or those who are well represented seem to get this. In the old days, it might have been racially biased, but not anymore. Now it just shits on everybody. Make no mistake. So anytime you can beat a system that's designed to be a failure, don't ever be ashamed of that. Most of you people have worked all your life, paid into the system, and when you finally need something, you're given a roll of toilet paper and some woman gives you an attitude on the phone that tells you to be 25 years. Nobody wants to hear that shit when they're struggling, especially since you worked since the day you were 18, and now the only thing they're telling you qualify is a roll of socks and a rubber mat and a fucking shelter. Don't you kid yourself. So if any of y'all feeling guilty about utilizing this system to actually make it do what it's designed to do, don't worry about asking God for forgiveness. The only people that are in charge of this trash and the reason y'all having such a problem are the very people who fucking run this clown show and that's the housing authorities. So, who can blame me for wanting to help people that have children that are on oxygen machines, elderly that can't even climb the stairs, people that are senile, people that are suffering from schizophrenia? Am I really that bad for wanting to help people actually get housing? Any way it takes, as long as it doesn't violate the law. Let me tell you something. I'll take my last breath on this earth and I won't regret one fucking moment of exploiting the housing authorities to the line of the limit. I will never regret that because I've watched more people get housing based on my own advice than I've ever seen. I know it works because it works plenty. Why aren't there people dancing in and out the chat room saying, "Oh God, this guy's a scam. Nobody gets anything"? Well, I managed to survive 7 years on YouTube, giving the best damn advice out there. So, with that being said, anyway, I go back to the Cadillac CTS. I'm considering getting that. I'm going to be traveling next year. And by the way, guys, I'm going to be moving to Arkansas this summer. Me and the army of 22 cats are moving to Arkansas. For many of you that know me very well, that are members of this channel, know that I have 22 cats. And y'all also know Blue Eyes, my Siamese. She's pregnant. And so that could be anywhere from 4 to 9. Cats are notorious for kicking out a lot of babies. And only I thought the French people had lots of children. So our group may be increasing up to 30, and I'm fine with that. But yeah, we're moving down to Arkansas, and yeah, hoping to be around the following year. And the last thing I'm going to leave with you guys, if I do have another ischemic attack or I do have a stroke, that will be the very end of this channel, and so will the website. Okay, so I do have health problems, and in most of it's genetic. I've done everything I can to improve my health, exercise, food, diet, and so on. But things have been shaky. And so, as I mentioned in the very beginning of this video, it took my grandfather at 40, took my dad at 55, and it could very well take me. But again, I don't make any apologies about making these videos. Anytime the feds want to come and knock my door down and say, "Hey, man, we don't appreciate you helping people get vouchers," then let them go ahead. Be my guest. I haven't done a damn thing wrong. So if I'm good enough where I've attracted the attention of different states, which they visit my channel, then it means that I'm doing my job effectively. They've taken me seriously. And they've taken it pretty damn seriously because I've had a number of states that have logged through my analytics. 19 states and so far, including county offices, have specifically come to this channel and do watch my videos. I don't know, because if they're county employees, I don't know if they're investigating me. Who the hell knows? Who cares? Point is, it must be good. If what I'm telling you is good enough to deserve their attention, it must be worth something, right? Because they don't watch party clown channels. All right, so I'm going to take a look at a few more questions, and we're going to wrap it up here in 1 hour, which is in about 8 minutes. Stephen D says, "Thank you for showing up for us. I do my best, my friend, and I'll continue to do my best. I can't think of a better thing to do with my time than to, try to help people in this respect. I've dragged more people from under bridges and out of shelters than I care to ever see in a lifetime. People that had absolutely no hope. Okay. When they came to me about these issues, a lot of people, hundreds, okay, came to me about this stuff. We consulted, got them through Espedat and all that, and they went and got a place and moved on with their life. Without that, a lot of these people would have already died of drug addiction and hopelessness. I see a lot of people that are broken by that. So, yeah, I don't ever make apologies about what I do. I don't care what anybody thinks. Joe Menendez, don't do it. True. The caddy does ride smoothly. Yes, thank you. And I'm looking forward to that. I'll snap a few photos now. I'm looking at black and gray for the Cadillac CTS. By the way, guys, I'm not spending $80,000 on a brand new one. This will be a used one because I'm not. The minute you buy something new, it devalues tremendously. Plus, you got to pay full coverage on it the first 4 years, which essentially means you just bought an $80,000 car, and now with all the extra money, you got to pay an insurance and the loss of value. You're actually doubling the value of the car. So why would I want to pay $200,000? So you see how much I'd rather just a few years older. Mary Sample gives a thumbs up. Stephen D, they're really nice. A friend has one, loves it. Joanna Mendez says, "How fast too, but falls apart like made of cardboard." I'm not quite sure what your reference is there, Miss Menendez. All right, guys, I've enjoyed it. So, anyways, I'm just rambling. I'm going to get off of here. We'll see y'all again in a couple of days. And any of y'all, let me give you a few links, guys, as I always do. That way you'll know how to reach me. And by the way, all my details are always in the description, and I'll put it in the comment section. Wrong one. Let me copy and paste. So this is the website. I spent a tremendous amount of money making it look nice. I hope y'all enjoy it. All right, so that's the website, and that's how you book if you need it. And like I always tell you guys, don't book a consult unless you feel like you need it. And my reputation, please, by all means, go check it out. Search the depths of hell of Google. All over YouTube, you'll arrive at one same conclusion every single time. I rank number one on both, and I rank number one because they both trust me. I've outlasted every idiot on YouTube, and I've outlasted every idiot on Google. So that says a lot for my reputation if I rank number one in the nation for this. I actually outrank companies that do Section 403 consulting as well. But that's a different kind. So that's a HUD consultant. All right, guys, I've had a great time talking to y'all. And then next time, I think what we're going to talk about is for felons. It's an underserved community, people that have spent time and they're trying to do the right thing, and they find it impossible to get housing. So I'm going to help people with felonies, drug charges, different things to get into housing if we're sober and straightened out. If we're trying to turn over a new leaf and do the right thing. There's a lot of convicted felons. There's a lot of convicted people with misdemeanors that have children and families. They can't just simply go live in shelters for the rest of their life. So I want to address that and try to help those that are trying to help themselves. Okay. All right. You have a good night. Bye-bye.